Welcome to the Connected Teamwork Podcast by Growth Leaders Network. How do we learn to truly thrive together? How do we stay connected to our authentic selves, each other, and our purpose as a team, especially when challenged? How do we unlock the deeper levels of group intelligence? Enjoy this episode of the Connected Teamwork Podcast and learn practical tools to evolve the connectedness of your team to its next level.
Welcome to the Connected Teamwork Podcast, episode 57, where we help leaders and teams connect more deeply to themselves and each other and their purpose. I'm here today with my co-host Carson Heddy and a very special guest, Susan Otten, who is the Chief Executive of Indie Do Good and many other things, as we'll find out. Susan, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm working in the warehouse alongside my team, and I do that every Monday, and it's my favorite day of the week. So I'm great.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for joining us on your favorite day of the week, and I'm glad to be here. Just a little context about this podcast, as we do every time. So Connected Teamwork is about helping teams and the people in teams find ways to connect more deeply to what's actually meaningful, what gives us energy, what we actually want to be doing, because life is so short, and have teams be that space that you want to go into because you get uplifted, because you get inspired. And then when the stuff shows up, which it invariably does because we're human beings, potatoes rubbing the mud off each other, you could say, we are able to do that with some grace and some skill. And these stories that we hear throughout this podcast from these different leaders help us do that. So Susan comes to us with so much experience. As I said, she's the Chief Executive Officer of Indie Do Good and founder and mentor as well of several things. She has a mission to help businesses grow while doing good. She is accredited strategic business communicator and marketer with her success in blending art and science to overachieve business objectives. She has served in 2 Fortune 300 global companies, Apple and Echo, and also in small businesses, and now her own consulting group as well. She is an award-winning innovator of B2B and B2C branding and sales and business development and social media. And beyond that, a terrific human being that I'm so inspired by. She has so many accomplishments, including, which we'll talk about in a second, being on this trail called the Appalachian Trail to raise $83,000 for Parkinson's disease, and maybe even a little bit more than that. So, Susan, what a delight to have you here today.
Thank you. One thing that is good news right away, I got a request from AARP, which is a very large organization with 32 million members, because they did an article on us for their blog back when we were just gotten off the trail. I guess it was winter when they came to film. So winter in Minnesota is always fun walking outside. But they asked again for an update, and they wanted the final number of what we raised. And so I went to the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and they keep track of that kind of stuff. And we actually ended up raising over $95,000, which was great, but also very humbling, because when my daughter and I went to the Michael J. Fox Gala to celebrate the efforts of people raising money over the year, we were very humbled right away, because the number one fundraiser raised over $1.5 million in a one-day event. And we were away from home for 5 months and 10 days. We were on trail for 104 days. We're doing something wrong, right? We gotta figure this out.
Maybe everybody has their journey. You've been on the trail of life for a while. Maybe can you tell us about what you've been learning about connectedness in your life and leadership, particularly when it comes to building that team? What can you tell?
Well, you mentioned some of my background and working. It was really exciting working at Apple at a time when it was a smaller company. I was there for 15 years, so I saw a ton of change when I started Jobs had just been kicked out, and John Scully had taken over. So I'm dating myself, I know, but it was such a dynamic, evolving organization, very risk-taking, very inspiring. And so I think I kind of learned my craft there. And but then to evolve and kind of go through different companies and stuff like that. And the global companies were so much fun because a little farm girl from a tiny family farm just 25 miles south of the state capital here in Minnesota, I hadn't done much traveling. My dad would always say, gosh, with if it rains, we can go on a picnic. You could never go on a vacation because who are you going to trust your cows to, your livelihood to? So to be able to travel still in the agriculture space was great, and learn the different practices for agriculture around the world was awesome. But the connectedness really is something that I've always strived for. And I'm really happy now that the company that we have here with our team, it feels so connected. It feels, I tell people all the time, they're not my employees, they're my family. They're part of my family. And I give a lot of credit to our warehouse director. Rashid is originally from Morocco. He's brought in his dad, his best friend, his brother, a couple of best friends to work here. He speaks 8 languages. He makes sure that and communicate with the people that we hire in their own native tongue. I joke with him that he sent his, I think he's in 2nd or maybe 3rd grade now, to Chinese immersion school because Mandarin was one of the few languages that Rashid does not speak. So it's really great to have that as something. And he also does fun things like puts up bulletin boards and has people bring in pictures of either things they love doing. And we have tons of pictures of, families and kids playing soccer and all that stuff, which really makes it feel very, very comfortable and very inspiring because people are working together so hard to help each other and our clients. And you mentioned in the intro too, that, we are trying to help small businesses that really have a passion for doing good. And we try to keep that same spirit of family and even, I don't like the word partnership because that's kind of taken on a legal connotation these days, but really being there to support them. In fact, we give all of our new clients an easy button. And, we really, really, really want to have them think of us as an extended part of their team. And if they have a problem that they can't figure out, it's like, don't spin too many cycles. Don't worry about it. Give us a call. If we can't do it, I bet you we probably know somebody who can. And we don't take any referral fees or anything like that. We just want them to think of us, because we want them to grow. We want them to do more good. And of course, if they grow, that's good for us. But we really challenge our clients to, if they don't have an obvious do good, to do something. Everybody's passionate about something. So we have one client that we just love. It's Hippie Feet. They're based here in Minneapolis. Crazy, adorable, funny socks. And they're made out of recycled cotton t-shirts. Now, that would be good enough, right? That's a pretty great thing. They give 50% of their profits to organizations here in the metro that support the homeless, specifically homeless youth, because he started out with employing homeless youth to do his shipping. And one year, Christmas time, it just got really cold and he had to scramble because kids weren't showing up for work. And for CPG companies, consumer products, it's very important that you do a great job during the holiday quarter. A lot of companies get the vast majority, some of them, of their revenue in a year from the holiday. So, we pretty much, all hands on deck. We got to get these orders out. And, we did it. And we loved, I knew him before. I loved that he was supporting homeless youth. But really, when you think about it, those kids need more than just a paycheck. I mean, a paycheck is helpful, but they need a lot of other support, education and healthcare and counseling. And, there's a lot of stuff that just a paycheck alone isn't going to provide for them. So we love our clients, and we could go on and on and on and on about the cool stuff. I mean, we have a toilet paper company saving the trees. We have healthy foods free from allergens. One of my favorite ones, because I don't cook, is, and I'm vegan and I'm gluten sensitive, is vegan gluten-free baking mixes. All you do is add water. I can do that. I usually overcook it though. So Yeah.
Susan, I think this is great. Something I wanted to point out is that I believe a lot of leaders, some pay lip service to, calling their teams and their
Oh,
clients family. And it's evident in hearing you talk today that, how passionate you are about this. I want to give a little context too to the audience. So, I connected with Susan a few months back, mostly because of her work that she had done with and for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And so my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's a couple years ago, hence why I wear the bracelet. And we had connected and struck up a dialogue. And it was great because she told me her story about the Appalachian Trail and how this came about. Now, what I'd love for you to do, Susan, is talk a little bit about that experience and that journey. But very evident to me when you told me the story was how integral teamwork and resources and resourcefulness was during that journey. And I'd love to have you share that with our audience today.
Yeah, I love this story and I love telling it. So thanks for asking. It was my daughter's idea. My husband, her dad, was diagnosed with Parkinson's in his early 50s and has done great with the disease, especially for the length of time that he's had it. But our daughter has always been big on fundraising to support Parkinson's research. And she's done more marathons than she can literally count. She's an Ironman. She did that to raise money for Parkinson's. She really wanted to run some of the majors, New York, for example. And the way she got into that was to do a fundraiser with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So she said, I want to do something big. I want to do something that really creates awareness and is bigger than just a marathon or just an Ironman. Just an Ironman, So she said, I want to hike the Appalachian Trail, and my roommate, best friend, soulmate from undergrad is going to do it with me. But then things changed like life does, and she wasn't able to go on the trail. And it's like, well, you're not going by yourself. I mean, if people don't know, the trail goes from Maine to Georgia. We went that direction. We went southbound, which is a little bit backwards. Most people start in Georgia. We lived in Georgia, so we knew a little bit about the trail. And she was busy with a veterinarian internship, so we couldn't leave until July 15th, which is really, really late. Because then what starts to happen is you bump into hurricanes in the south and even mid-Atlantic. So the weather was a little creepy. But you talk about teamwork and me as being a strong businesswoman, right? I can do anything. Well, the trail is a lot. Almost 2,200 miles. It's like going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down Mount Everest 16 times. And elevation is measured straight up. It's not on the angle. It's straight up. So I am not really great at math, but I did the math on what 16 times up and down Mount Everest elevation of over 29,000 feet is, and it's 176 miles straight up and straight down that we walked. So think of a ladder, 176 miles, long, that you're climbing up. Oh, and I think the average of our backpack was probably around 33, 35 pounds, because there's no fast food restaurants on the trail. You even have to kind of figure out how to get into town, which can be a long distance. And sometimes our ability to buy food and resupply was a gas station. And so, and we needed food. You burn about 5,000 calories a day. But as a strong, business person, and my daughter was, brilliant, of course, she's a veterinarian, but, and she'd done a lot of hiking. So she really became the leader of our team, along with God. I mean, the amount of miracles we had on the trail were unbelievable, just literally unbelievable. For example, I think I've healed quite well, but 9 stitches here. And that was early on the trail. I tripped on a root and I hit my head on another root. And your head makes a really weird sound when you hit that hard. It's indescribable. So I yelled from our daughter, and, she was hiking behind me a little ways, because she could walk and, text, and she could walk and edit our videos and all that stuff. And I couldn't even walk without falling down. So she got up to me, and by the time she did, the 2 gentlemen had appeared. I'm not kidding. They didn't walk up, they appeared. We hadn't seen anybody all day. It was 1:30 in the afternoon, and which was really odd to not see anybody. And then it gets even odder. the one gentleman says to the other, "Hey, Joe, you know, when I hit my head last week and those steroid strips that I have left in my backpack, grab them here. They're in this pocket." And by then my daughter had gotten up there and she'd taken the buff off and could see the, blood. And she taped it back up. And, on our way we were with 3.5 miles to get to a road crossing. And we thought maybe we should get off the trail for a bit and get it stitched up or whatever. And 16 people, talk about connectedness, talk about community. People we didn't even know. Like, we got to the road crossing. Oh, and we had no Wi-Fi service. So it was kind of important that we didn't even know which way to go on the road. Where's the closest ER or doctor or veterinarian? Heck, I would have settled for a vet to stitch it up. And we didn't even have our thumbs out to hitchhike. And a car stopped and said, "Hey, you gals need a ride?" And they were headed home. And they said, "Yeah, we go by a hospital. It's about an hour and a half away." So, we went there and they wouldn't take a dime for gas money. And then just, 14 more people helped us get back on trail the following morning by about 10 a.m. So, which was a really late start for us, but we didn't push it too hard those first few days. But no concussion. I guess I got a really hard noggin. And just the help along. And you know what? Blood kind of helps for donations. But that one wasn't too bad. The weird one was I got 10 staples across the top of my head, and that bled like crazy. And that was in Pennsylvania, because all the rocks there are standy up and pointy. And you literally, at least I couldn't, and I know Greta had slowed down a ton too, but you couldn't, I had to mindfully decide where I was going to put my foot before I took weight off of the other foot and put the next foot down. So that was really weird. And I knew I was going down at a point. I did the tightest tuck and roll possible with a 35-pound backpack on and hit the top of my head, and that bled like crazy. And then so we had to walk 1.5 miles and I had to keep compression on my head because it was bleeding a ton. And try walking on standy up pointy rocks that you can't mindfully take a step without planning where you're going to, with one hand on top of your head, pressing on, that was hard. Greta took a ton of weight off my backpack, and there was times where she even carried my backpack. So she had one on the back and one on the front. So she's a beast. But again, people stepped up and helped us out, and, we did it. And just, they talk about the community of the trail and how people connect with people that are hiking for the first time or, have a special mission or a goal. And it was just unbelievable, literally unbelievable.
Thank you, Susan. I'm so moved by this phrase that to me epitomizes a lot of what you've been saying about, "Hey, gals, do you need a ride?" Because that atmosphere of mutual helpfulness and trust oozes, pardon my pun here, through your story. We're going to take a short break. After the break, we're going to explore more with Susan what trust looks like. Because I see a lot of trust in what you're doing. Like, you don't step on a trail with all that weight and just go. Like, how do you do that? How do you develop that kind of trust? We'll see you back after the break. We're here with Susan Otten, who is a founder and currently a chief executive of Indie Do Good. And I'm here with my co-host, Carson Heddy. I'm Hilke Faber. See you after this short break.
You are listening to the Connected Teamwork podcast by Growth Leaders Network. Do you want to learn more about building the next level of connectedness in your team? Please contact Growth Leaders Network on LinkedIn. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Connected Teamwork Podcast, episode 57. I'm Hilke Faber here with Carson Heddy and Susan Otten. Susan, from our first bit of conversation, what struck me was so much, including the easy button. And then, "Hey, gals, need a ride?" So tell us about, what have you learned about trust? How do you trust life, people, your journey? How do you trust?
Yeah. There's that thing about a cup is either half full or half empty. I think I'm a cup is half full and maybe even more than that and overflowing. You really, it would be so sad to go through life thinking that the cup is empty or half empty. I just think that it would be horrible for your mental health. You wouldn't be a very fun person to be around. I mean, I like to think I'm like I like to think I'm pretty goofy and I have a lot of fun, even when we fell, we turned it into, kind of a funny story. And along the trail, we videotaped about every other day. We have 96 videos out on our YouTube channel, which is Appalachian Trail for Parkinson's Disease. And you talk about trust. One of the best stories I heard from the trail was this woman whose husband was hiking sections of the trail and she was supporting him. She reached out and said, you're getting close to where we live. You must come stay with us. And she told this story to her coworkers. She's a principal of an elementary school. And someone said to her, well, you don't know these people? And well, my husband's bumped into them a couple of times on the trail, but you don't know these people. You have locks on your bedroom doors. You're going to put away your valuables. You have a gun, right? And, we heard that a lot on the trail. The number one question people asked us was, well, you're going to take a gun with you, right? And no, we're not going to take a gun. We had bear spray, because bears can get pretty bad. And that would probably stop somebody this creepy too. But we didn't take it for the creepy two-legged people. We took it for the creepy four-legged, critters out there. But the reputation of the community along the trail just invoked that trust, and we witnessed it time and time again. And it taught us, you hear too, think the best in people, think the best, don't think the worst, think the best, and that was proven again and again and again, because there was people on the trail. I mean, you could tell a through hiker, they say men look like prisoners of war and women look like, fashion models, because you burn about 5,000 calories a day. Guys don't usually take the time to shave, and so it's just, you don't know what their story is. And sitting at the shelters, you'd sleep in these lean-tos if you could, and or your tent if you couldn't. And you're sleeping right next to somebody that you just met, and someone would come in the middle of the night and, you just slept, mostly because you were so exhausted. But really, what are you going to do? Can't stay up all night with bear spray in your hand.
When we first connected, Susan, something that you said to me really resonated, and I would love to have you expound on it a little bit here as well. You were talking about some of the learnings that you gleaned from the trail, but also how they apply in business and also from a faith perspective. But the common thread being the tools, the training, and the team. Yes. And that really stuck with me when we first met, because these were things that could not only apply to preparing to go out on an epic journey like that, but also on this epic journey that we're all on from a career and a life standpoint. Could you talk more about the tools, training, and team philosophy?
Right. Yeah. We figured out, as I was walking on the trail, 154 days, and you're walking all day long, and you don't have enough battery power to play podcasts and have your phones in. So you really have a lot of time to think. And I was really kind of dissecting what I was learning. This is, I'd love to do it again, but it could potentially be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And how do I take the big things, the big learnings out of that and turn it into something really good? And I broke it down to 3 things, because I like the number 3. I like alliteration so I can remember stuff. So first was tools. I mean, you don't step out on the trail without doing some research, which our daughter was fantastic at, and then getting the right tools. And she was doing her internship for Vet Med out in Denver, and the largest REI is in Denver. And we spent like 4 days there, and the people were just so helpful. And we heard of this and we thought about that. And, they were just awesome. They taught us so much. And so you got to have the right tools. And then the training really became important. Minnesota's pretty flat, this land of 10,000 lakes. There's not a lot of hills and valleys, and it's a lot of lakes and swampland and green space and stuff like that. So I looked for every hill I could find, within walking distance, within driving distance, and started putting hand weights in my backpack, and bought that backpack at REI, and started as soon as the ice was off the ground here, so it was safe to walk with weight. And I just built up to about 40 pounds of weight in my backpack. But, you know, my training hikes were maybe a couple hours, maybe 3 at the most. When you're hiking out on the trail, you know, we average 14 and a half miles a day over the whole trail. So, I mean, that's a bit of time that you're carrying that weight. But, you know, that's what it's about. You're stepping into it. And then, but that, it's like, okay, you can train, but it's kind of like a new job. You can read stuff, you can be prepared, you can research the company. But until you get there, you know, on the job training, you know, as much as people don't like to admit to it, there is a certain amount of acclimation that you do once you get into the job. And the same with the tools. You could provide the best tools to your company and your teammates, but if they didn't know how to use it, you know, like take AI is probably the best example I can think of now. And, you know, to get some training on it and to work with people and ask questions about it and how they're using it and really learning on a fantastic tool, you know, one that I think people at least have gotten over their initial fear of it. And now it's, you know, turning into a tool. And the more you use it, the smarter it gets on what you need and want and stuff like that. So that was good. We did, for our hike, we did it was 2 nights, 3 days, 2 nights hiking. It was in Colorado. I didn't really acclimate very well, being a flatlander here at about maybe 4 to 500 square or elevation. And in Colorado, the parking lot where we left the car was at 7,500 feet. And then we hiked up to 12,500 feet that first day. And it was Memorial Weekend. You think, oh, you know, no snow, right? You know, it had snowed the week before, and at elevation there was about 2 feet of snow, which, because I was kind of the boat anchor, because I hadn't acclimated well enough, we didn't plan that very well. So we couldn't get up over the crest of the peak and then back down into below the tree line. So we slept on 2 feet of snow and learned what equipment failed at that temperatures. And we could, you know, we really could have had those kind of temperatures and that much snow on the trail. So we made some changes there. And it's kind of like that with your job too, until you really get out there and do it. You know, that sleeping pad, that sleeping bag looks great laying on the floor in REI, but didn't look so great laying on 2 feet of snow, you know, on the top of a mountain. So, you know, we pretty much froze that night. And then the final one, really the team. And I just, you know, count my blessings all the time on how great our daughter was, how much research she did. Just, you know, the spirit that she had. You know, we also had Team Fox behind us. It was very helpful. Their support, their, you know, giving us visibility and stuff like that to help the donations and stuff like that. CBS News was amazing. National broadcast twice on CBS. Sunday and Saturday news, and then the local CBS affiliate WCCO here in Minneapolis did 8 broadcasts of us. I think 3 of them were live from the trail and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just the team, and we always said that God was the head of our team too. It's just, you know, to have faith and to have a purpose really are what propelled us along, because nobody goes out and does this. Especially at my age. A little statistics on it: less than 700 people over the age of 60 have completed the trail, and about a third of the through hikers on the trail are women, and only about 20% of through hikers are successful in the year that they set out. So I don't know how to do all that math, what the odds are of me at my age being able to do it, but it was fun. And you know what? We made a birthday competition too. Our daughter asked for, she asked for 22, it was 2,000, well, about 2,200 miles. So she asked for a $22 donation from her for her birthday. And then I'm like, I can do better than that, because also my age group is has a little bit more disposable income than a 20, she turned 27 on the trail. And I turned 66. And so I asked for $1 for every trip around the sun. So I asked for a $66 donation. And
I love that.
And I beat her. So we were also incredibly competitive too.
I love that. Listen, Susan, it's amazing to hear your story. I'm going to ask you to maybe think about, in a sentence, what would you say to a person who is thinking about stepping on a trail, whatever that trail might be in their life, a new job, new country, a new relationship, a new habit at work, whatever it might be? What would you say to them?
I really like these three things that we talked about. Having the right tools, make sure you have the appropriate training, and then have a team. And I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs, and I just sent this to someone late last night. It's like, you're a solopreneur, and you need to surround yourself. And even if you don't want to have employees, get an advisory team or a support group or something that can strengthen you and keep you, energized and focused. And I think that's so important. I could not have hiked that trail by myself. My daughter probably could have done it, but I could not have done it without her. And I don't think she would have had as much fun or as much grief. She probably would have done a lot faster. But like they say, two is better than one, and a cord of three cannot be broken. So
beautiful. Thank you so much, Susan. It's been a true honor and blessing to sit with you today, to hear about your faith adventures in life. And what I take away so much, one thing I take away from this is to really dive in and trust that the people will be there, that the tools will be there, and not abdicate, still be intentional about tools, training, and team. Thank you. You've been listening to the Connected Teamwork Podcast, episode 57. We've been here with Susan Otten and my co-host, Carson Heddy. See you next time. Connected Teamwork Podcast. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Connected Teamwork Podcast by Growth Leaders Network. Take a moment to reflect on what you learned today that can help build your team. Also, if you like, think about one of your team members and what you appreciate about them. Let them know. Enjoy connecting more deeply to what is great about them. And see you next time at the Connected Teamwork Podcast.